Hello and welcome to Market House, the podcast where we talk all things Disney. My name's Caleb.
And I'm Caitlin.
And this week we share some Disney Dream announcements.
And how to visit Disneyland in the summer. Let's dive in.
All right, and this is episode number 139.
Yeah, welcome back as always, everybody.
Welcome back. I hate to just kind of repeat what we said last week, but it is a miracle we got through this terrible weather system. It feels like we live on the surface of the sun.
It's been really, really hot here.
So much so that I'm actively angry every day.
It was 113 today.
No, yesterday.
Yesterday, sorry.
Today was 110.
Yes.
So, it felt so balmy and cold this morning.
Oh, yeah.
This is ridiculous. I know most of the West Coast is getting hit by this. I know some people are spared because they live on the coast or just some weird spots. But like Tahoe, which we used to visit actually often, we haven't been in a while. Lake Tahoe, which is what, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 feet in the, right?
Yeah.
Right? Elevation. It was 92 degrees today.
That's so hot.
That's insane.
Yeah.
This is the place where it's like freezing and then summers it's like 80.
Yeah, it's normally an escape.
70s.
But
yeah.
not this year.
Wild.
I know.
So this is very dumb and I cannot wait for it to pass. But yeah, we'll see if we're left standing here at the end of this week. And then it's not really going away for another like 5 or 6 days for us.
I know. We
So-
were hoping it was going to, but it still looks like it's going to be, I guess, low hundreds now.
It's got like a nasty little kickback. So it kind of goes away for a day or two
Yeah.
and then boom, it hits us again and
Yeah.
then goes away for hopefully more than 2 days before it comes back.
But
So
other than that, we've had a really great week.
yeah, productive,
Uh-huh.
getting a lot of things done.
Yeah,
We did a mall day yesterday.
we did.
Did some shopping,
Mhm.
picked up some things we needed. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
Working and shopping.
it's been great.
What else? what
I have to talk about the really cool thing that we bought for our toaster.
What did we buy?
So this is probably so silly, but we found the tongs that you use to pick up toast for your
Yeah,
toaster?
the little wood tongs.
There are these wood tongs that we found, but they have a magnet like on.
Yeah, so instead
Actual-
of having to like balance it on top of the toaster, it always falls and like makes this clanging sound. Very little thing, not a
Yeah.
huge deal. It's just a little annoyance. Well, Crate and Barrel fixed this. I don't think it's specifically them. I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of people sell
I'm
these.
sure it's on Amazon.
Yeah, for $2. A little magnet embedded in it, so it goes and snaps right onto the side of the toaster.
It's
no more
life-changing.
falling.
I was so excited to use it this morning when we were doing our like waffles. I was
Yeah.
just like, yes.
It was like $5. It wasn't crazy. So
Yeah.
if you want some quality Crate and Barrel merchandise, we didn't buy anything else there because everything else is like 100 times that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy that you can walk past like a little end table and you're like, oh, how much is this? Oh, $8,700. Not that
You're like,
much, but
"It's okay."
it is wild. Furniture can get very expensive, especially that place. Other than that, Disney-related stuff, we have been planning our end-of-year trip.
Mhm.
Big stuff. Trying to figure out all the little things. Who's staying where? The whole fam's going along this trip.
Yeah.
We're going over to the East Coast, Disney World and Disney Cruise. So some families staying at one resort, some families staying at other. And so just kind of trying to figure out logistics and where we're meeting and all that fun stuff. So it's fun. It's like logistics, but fun stuff.
It's coming up really fast.
Coming up really
I
fast.
cannot believe it.
Cannot wait. All right, before we dive into that Disney news, join us over on Patreon, markethousepodcast.com/support. Huge shout out to all of our supporters over there. It means the world to us that you choose to support us financially. We appreciate all of you. You also get a little bonus content over there just to say one of the ways we say thank you is provide some bonus stuff over there. We've got a new episode up there and a little article, a little fun post. Speaking of that post, I'd like to share a little bit about that here.
Yeah.
Before we dive into everything else, wanted to give a huge shout out to Ray, who listens to the show, who wrote into us and told us a very fun Sacramento Disney fact. Had no idea that Disney was associated with Sacramento in any way, but this is true. I did a little digging after he sent this little tidbit to us. It turns out that Walt Disney and possibly his team, and it's not guaranteed or verified who exactly did it, but Walt Disney or one of his animators designed the mascot for the Sacramento Bee, which is our local newspaper.
That is amazing.
Isn't that sick?
Yeah, it's so awesome.
This was back in 1943, so during the war, and apparently Disney was super busy with making those cartoons they were making for kind of the wartime effort.
Yeah.
And kind of propaganda films, basically.
Which you can see a little bit of that in the Walt Disney Family Museum down in the Bay.
Yes, great spot if you haven't been there. So yes, they do touch on that. So he was busy with that, didn't want to really be distracted with anything else. But if I'm guessing correctly, I think the studio at this time needed some money. And so he was taking kind of some side stuff. But funny enough, he didn't actually take money for this project. In exchange for a $1,500 donation to the Army Support Fund, if that makes sense. I got to read up on what that was again. Something related to the Army, to the war effort. Someone here gave $1,500 and he said, I will design your mascot.
That's awesome.
So the mascot was Scoopy Bee.
That's so cute.
Because he was getting the scoop on things. And yeah, we had a Disney designed mascot. So I am totally set out to find some Scoopy Bee memorabilia, and we're going to cover our office and Scoopy Bee stuff.
And you posted a little like picture of it on Patreon, right?
I did, a little of the backstory. So huge shout out to Ray. Thank you for sending that. That is something I had no idea about, and I love it.
Yes, and by the way, thank you so much, Ray, for the kind words. We really appreciate you.
Appreciate you. All right, consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It is a huge help to the show. Also, please share this episode with a friend. All these shares help. Again, when someone hears about us and they start listening, that is a huge help to the show. So we appreciate you guys, and let's dive into that news.
All right, first up, we have some super exciting Disney Cruise Line news. Disney has just announced some major changes coming to the Disney Dream.
Yes, this was a fun fact. Our first Disney cruise was on the Disney Dream. Our first love.
Love that dream. Or that dream.
That dream.
That dream cruise ship.
Yeah, we went on it 2 times in a row. We loved it so much. So love the Disney Dream. Got a special place in our heart. They announced some major changes to this ship. It's got a dry dock later this year. And if you don't know what that is, that means they take the ship out of the water. Other than that, it'll go years just floating around the world. And once in a huge while, they'll lift it up out of the water and do some major refurbs on it. Usually, I think, don't quote me on this, I think it's usually like 8 to 12 weeks. They'll take it out and then it's back up sailing.
The turnaround time on that is really insane.
Insane.
Yeah.
So the work that they do on these things is quite impressive. So let's get into the first update. A funnel suite, just like the Wish, will be added to the Disney Dream. It is a 2,000 square foot hotel room, essentially, spread between 2 stories. This thing,
it's gigantic.
Massive. That's the size of homes.
I can't even fathom. That's so cool to me that it's in the funnel.
Right?
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
It is themed after Fantasia. So if you're a big fan of that musical movie.
That's a very interesting choice to me.
A little random, but it looks fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because of this funnel suite being added, the next announcement is that the Edge Club, Kids Club, these are this club's for the ages of, the kids that are
11
the
to
ages
14.
of 11 to 14, if I can spit it out, will be moving to Deck 5. They're going to be adding a ball pit to their space, and some think that this is, I don't know if this is true. Some are guessing that this is going to take over the outdoor pool that's there now, and they're just going to fill it with balls?
So, first of all, my whole thing is just what every 11 to 14-year-old wants is a ball pit.
Right? I feel like that's for like toddlers.
Maybe it's like, I'm thinking of like a toddler ball pit. Maybe they're thinking like it's like a big foam pit. That, like,
No.
like the trampoline places that you jump into them?
Yes, they would have said foam pit, right?
But maybe it's, I don't know.
Foam balls? I don't think so. And people made the observation that, like, how are you going to clean all those things?
That's gross.
That's gross.
I mean, you
I don't
have fun.
think this is going to happen. I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen here? But they're also going to be sharing space with the Vibe Kids Club. And this is for the ages, or the kids between the ages, I can't say that, between the ages of 14 and 17. So I have no idea how they're going to do this. I don't know if they're splitting time or if they're actually going to combine these age groups from time to time.
I mean, I hope not, because 11 to 17 is a
That's
really
wild.
wide range.
I doubt that's happening. So I think they're sharing a space, but does that make sense? They'll do kind of different shifts with that. So people are kind of upset about this. They're like having the kids club space for those age groups and kind of smushing them all into one spot to make room for this very luxury, exclusive experience that only one family can experience a cruise.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This is the direction that Disney's been going. I feel like they kind of cater to the higher end folks a little more now. So I don't know. This is kind of par for the course.
As a parent, I'm bummed.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got the a Marvel themed area being added to the Oceaneer Club.
Mm-hmm.
So the Web Academy or something they call it.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, whatever. And then next, the Concierge Lounge is being reaffirmed and themed to Hercules.
Which is awesome.
Yes, mixed bag on this one. So the internet, of course, is kind of in an uproar because the, what do you call it? The concept art
Yeah.
they released for this looks a little sterile.
I
Looks a
haven't
little
seen it yet.
Yeah, it's a little wishy. So if you aren't aware or whatever of the Disney Wish, this is the newest cruise ship that Disney has come out with, and it's a little more on the like sterile side, right? It's like a little more white walls, less of the classic Disney cruise feel, the wood and what have you.
Yeah.
This looks more like the Wish, and so people are kind of bummed they didn't keep that old seafaring, ocean liner theming.
Yeah, especially for Hercules, which has like darker tones, like Hades and all that kind of stuff.
I don't know. It's very, very different. So some people are upset. I think it looked pretty, but whatever. Next up, the spa is getting a new check-in area and new treatment rooms.
And this concept art looks really pretty.
Looks very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, Donald's Cantina is being added to the deck food options.
This is beyond exciting to me.
This is a big deal. This is basically Disney Chipotle being added to the Disney Dream. I love me some Mexican food. Thank you, Disney.
Which now I'm kind of like, okay, when's the fantasy going to dry dock? Because Donald's Cantina needs to come to
Right?
that. Yes.
There's plenty of burger and hot dog options and pizza. That's all standard fare. I love the Mexican edition.
So I am curious, do you know where they're putting that on the ship?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's replacing something or just being added. I don't know.
They're probably taking out the toddler area
Yeah.
and putting the cantina.
You kids go somewhere else. We're putting in some
Just kidding.
Mexican food. But that is it. That is all the news this week. It was kind of a slow news week, but a lot of fun additions being added to the Disney Dream. All right, and that brings us to our main segment of this week's episode, and that is Disneyland in the summer.
It reminds me of Olaf every time we say that.
In the summer?
Yeah. In
Why?
summer. His
In
song.
summer. We actually watch Frozen little
We
bits.
did.
Maddie watches for about 3.5 minutes, then
Mhm.
gets kind of busy with her toys, but we've shown her snippets of Frozen. She's a fan.
She really liked it.
Yeah.
It was
I
so
think
cute.
I missed a little bit of it. I think you fast forwarded through the marshmallow parts.
Yeah, just a couple of them.
A little intense.
It's so funny, like as a parent now, when you watch the Disney movies, you're kind of like, there's some like aspects of it that are so scary.
9 out of 10, I feel like we're like, oh, goodness gracious. This is too scary for my kid. And then we're
Is
fast
she
forwarding.
fine? Probably, but
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, Marshmallow, which
know.
is like the cutest, like scary marshmallow man ever.
I know.
He's
So,
not even
yeah.
a marshmallow. I don't know why we say that. He's an ice man.
It looks like a marshmallow.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yes, so we thought this is a perfect time as we sit here and bake in the sun, 114 degrees, to talk about visiting Disneyland in the summer. So we'll be honest, not our favorite time to go. We try to actively avoid going in the summer
Mhm.
because of kind of the obvious stuff, the weather, the crowds. But we understand, and we're about to experience this ourselves in 5 years when Maddie's in school,
Mhm.
that this is the time that most families can vacation because the kids are out of school, and that's just when you travel as a family. So we thought we'd kind of make some observations, kind of tell you what to expect, and then also give you some fun tips along the way to hopefully assist and help in your planning and Disney vacation experience.
Yes, and we have gone a couple times during the summertime, so we're not just pulling this
No.
out.
Yeah, we
going-
have.
yeah.
We've totally done it.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, that's when we went.
Yep.
Was only in the summer.
Mhm.
And then we've gone a couple times as adults, and I realized it's just not for me.
We just have some kind of
My
like, tips and
personality.
tricks.
So let's talk about how we can make it the best trip possible.
Let's do it.
All right, let's start with the obvious, the weather. Southern California on a whole has fairly mild weather, but the summers can be very, very hot, especially in recent years. It has been toasty down there. Let me tell you kind of some specifics of what to expect. It very rarely hits 100 degrees, but keep this in mind. When it is mid 80s and lower 90s, you also have to account for the humidity and UV index. So we come from somewhere that's very dry. In the summer, it's like 20-25% humidity. In SoCal, it's about 60% in Anaheim.
Mhm.
So that's it's a little wet for us. Also, there was a UV index yesterday, I looked up specifically, of 12. That is intense, extreme UV.
Yeah.
So that will burn your skin to a crisp.
And I feel like the weather sometimes is kind of like hit and miss because you'll see like, oh, it's only going to be 76 degrees, which here where we live, 76 is really nice and enjoyable. But in Anaheim, when it's 76, if you look at that UV index and it is 11 or 12, it feels like it's like 87 outside.
Yes, that actually teased me up. Thank you so much for the next point I was going to make. Keep in mind when it shows, so right here, yesterday it showed that it was going to be 85 degrees, but it had a real feel of 93.
Yeah.
That's 8 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep that in mind when you're looking at that forecast to plan for your trip with clothes and just, do I bring sunscreen or whatever? just actually look at the real feel because it can feel considerably hotter than what it lists. If you're used to Walt Disney World weather, this is probably a walk in the park. But for most folks that are coming from out of state, from even our part of the state, it can just feel different and it zaps the energy out of you. So let's talk about tips on how to deal with this weather. You want to start with number one?
Yes.
Go for it.
So number one, our recommendation is get to the park as early as possible. And now some of you are like us who used to love to sleep in, take our time.
I still love it. Now, can I do it? No, but I still love it.
Yeah, with all you with little ones out there, or if you're early risers, which we have multiple friends who are those people, we really recommend taking advantage of those early park times, not only for rides and queues, but honestly, just to get there and just to be there before the sun is at its peak.
Yes, 100%. And then also take those mid-afternoon breaks. Get back to the hotel. I know it's tempting to stay there and get your money's worth. It's expensive now. I totally get it. And you want to soak up every single moment in the park. But you'll get to like day 2 at 11 a.m. and you will be toast just because you're so tired. And that sun really does do some damage.
Yeah, and it's one of those things like you mentioned with a lot of those people who go during the summer, they might not get to go as often or as frequently.
Sure.
And you're kind of like, I don't want to pull the kids away. They're having so much fun. Just remember that like overall, and we've had plenty of experiences with this where times where we're like, we don't want to go back. Like we just want to be at the park. It's okay if we're hot and it's exhausting, whatever. Just remember at the end of that break, if you do go back, you will thank yourself. You'll feel so much better. You're able to hydrate and kind of just take a break and relax. Just even if it's like half an hour, 45 minutes, like you won't regret it.
100%. So get back to that hotel if you can, take a nap, get some AC break in, and then head back to the park when the sun is setting. So my recommendation, 2 to 5 p.m. is usually pretty dang brutal. So I would head back for dinner or what have you, and yeah, enjoy the park. Next up, drink tons of water. Take advantage of the free cups of water from restaurants or those fill stations. I've admitted in the past I've got a hard time using those fill stations because I saw a kid suck on it with his mouth, and it grossed me out. So it has scarred me forever. I can't use those. And I'm one of the suckers that pays for Dasani water bottles, so I just budget for that. I just do it because that's just how I'm wired.
Mm-hmm.
But just be aware those are available. So if you don't want to spend money, you can take your water bottle and maybe just wipe it down with a little washcloth or something. Wash off the kid germs.
Oh my gosh.
I'll probably not care as much when I'm more of a dad, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know.
It just gets to me, man. I saw that kid just sucking it down and I was like, no.
Well, no, because fun fact, we were watching a video on Lighthouse Point.
Someone did it there.
One of the vloggers that was vlogging was like, I just witnessed some parent pick their kid up and put their mouth on one of the water dispensers for cups.
That is disgusting.
So,
what does it matter with you people?
Don't
let your kids suck on public water things. Not only for their sake, but also our sake. So, all right, next up, hit the rides with the long outdoor queues first thing or at night. So keep in mind, some of these queues are either old and they didn't really think about this and, in the shade or in AC. All those Fantasyland rides, all out in the sun, and you will get baked.
Yeah, and especially the ones, like, for example, like if you have Snow White or Pinocchio, majority of the line is inside. However, there's not a lot of AC pumping in that area.
No.
And since the queue is so squish, it is literally, the heat is just trapped.
It's like
in
swampy,
there.
yeah.
So just keep that in mind, because even if it's enclosed, you're like, it's out of the sun. It still feels like an oven in there.
Yeah, there's no airflow. So keep that in mind. Indiana Jones is another one. They've got a lot of shade, but again, if it's hot and humid, it can kind of zap your energy. And it can be out in the sun for a little bit. So Indiana Jones, Rise of the Resistance is out in the sun mostly because it's a long line.
That one's the worst.
It's bad. It's really bad. Soarin' is a pretty rough, what do you call it? Queue in the summertime. And Incredicoaster, that one, because it's all rough. Like concrete and stuff. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's rough.
Like if you think of like Space Mountain, like that's pretty well because they have like those overhang areas like up at the top. And the only one that they can think of is Big Thunder. Because a lot of that's in the sun.
Right.
But overall, I mean, other than if you're going to Astro Blasters, or not Astro Blasters, what's the thing in Tomorrowland? The rocket? What's it called?
Oh,
Astro Orbiter.
Astro Orbiter.
That one, again, all in the sun. So just keep that in mind.
Sure. Next, bring some battery-powered fans. These were, I think, late on the party. We just bought some recently. They're amazing.
Yeah.
We love using these things. They last almost all day. I wish that we have a stroller fan for Maddie. That thing loses battery in about 4 minutes.
I know.
These ones last days, and I don't have to charge them. So I don't know what kind of magic is in them.
Yeah.
But anyways, they're portable fans. You hold them in your hand, and you point them right at your face, and they feel marvelous.
And there's some fun, like, handheld ones that are, like, really tiny on Amazon that are, like, Disney-themed. I've seen them everywhere. They're on Amazon.
Okay.
They're pretty inexpensive.
I'm the cheap guy that bought the non-Disney ones.
Yeah.
Next up, wear light clothes and a hat. It's hot. Hat does make a difference. I actually don't take this advice. I rarely wear hats. Caitlin does
Hmm.
and loves that it blocks her face.
I love it. And then I always have to say, I always see people when it's like 97 degrees out wearing the Spirit jerseys.
I don't know how you do it.
It's not worth it. Don't
No.
do it. Those
Wear it at
things-
night.
Yeah, even though it's hot then too. But
I don't know.
you know,
Whatever. Sunscreen, use it. I'm really bad at this. Caitlin is really good at this. I'm terrible, and I rarely burn. I'm lucky that my skin just absorbs the sun.
no, Caleb burns, but
it
it's
doesn't
gone within
resist.
like 2 minutes.
No, I never burn. I've never burned in my life.
I burn.
But no, I should use it because UV rays are bad for
Terrible.
you, and so I should do that. Take AC breaks throughout the day. There are some awesome parts in the park that you can sit down and soak up some AC. The Animation Academy comes to mind in DCA. Great moments with Mr. Lincoln. I like the show. Caitlin is not patriotic and actually doesn't like
That
watching the
is
show.
not true.
And doesn't like America.
It's filled with AC
It's beautiful AC and you can sleep
and
in it.
comfy chairs.
Yes, Caitlin has taken a nap or
Don't
two.
tell people I'm not patriotic.
Mr. Lincoln, man. President Lincoln. And then
Uh-huh.
next up, the shops. So go spend some money and enjoy the AC.
For sure.
All right. Next point to make and next kind of thing to discuss are the summer crowds. So historically, Disneyland is extremely busy in the summer. That is like a no duh kind of thing here. Kids are out of school. But what's weird, and I'm going to make an observation, this year has not turned out to be that way. I guess it's been really slow at the parks relative to other summers.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe take advantage of that. These crowds can mean long lines at not only rides, but security checks, restaurants, shops, etc. So let's talk tips. We're going to borrow from the weather section and say get there as early as you can to rope drop because those crowds tend to not be as heavy in the morning and late at night. Also, embrace the night. Embrace that close to closing time, which most of the time in summer is around midnight. I know it's late, but if from like 10 to midnight, there are like no lines.
Mm-hmm.
So we've done that a lot of times just
Yeah.
because we don't get there early in the morning because I don't like waking up that early. We do love that 10
We
to
love the
midnight.
park close. Yeah,
Yes.
it's the best.
Set realistic expectations. Just go in knowing that it's going to be very busy. Patience is key and try and go with the flow. I am guilty of this as well. You spent good money to be there. You want to have a good time, but just understand that some things aren't going to go your way. A ride is going to break down. A line that you thought was 30 minutes is going to be an hour, but just try and go with it.
For your mobile ordering, it's going to take 45 minutes
Yes.
instead of 10.
Yes, that's happened a couple times to us. As much as I hate recommending this, I hate it. It may be worth purchasing Lightning Lane Multipass, formerly known as Genie Plus, for a couple of your park days. Some days it works really well. Some days it's terrible. I will be honest with you. The last time we used it, it was terrible for us. We only used it on 3 rides because the rest of the wait times got pushed out too late to where we couldn't use them because of the little one. So just keep that in mind. Some days they really oversell it, in my opinion, and everyone's using it. And
Yeah.
then at that point, it breaks for everybody.
I would
So,
say if you're there with your family and it's a really busy day and you're considering purchasing it, I would just keep in mind that if you're willing to stay late, then go for it. If you're one of those people or families that have to leave at like 8:39, I wouldn't recommend because
No.
literally at 11 a.m. it'll be pushed out sometimes to 9 p.m. for some rides. So just keep that in mind.
all right, next up, let's talk cost. It can be very expensive traveling in the summer since everyone else is doing it. Everyone's
I
traveling.
thought you were going to talk about our trip last July.
That was expensive too. That was a last minute Disney cruise booking. I don't recommend doing that last minute, but
I think it was great.
no, it was blast. I just am telling you, if you want the best deal, don't do what I did. That was terrible.
Yeah.
Next up, let's talk about Disneyland tickets. So they are the most expensive during this time. Hotels in the area jack up their prices, and if you're flying, you all know that the airfare can get pricey in the summer. So let's talk tips. Don't book last minute, like Caitlin just mentioned that we did in July. Don't book last minute. Book your trip at least, if you can control it, 3 months out. That's when you can get decent airfare, decent price on hotels, all that good stuff. Try and buy your tickets through someone like Getaway Today to save a little money. You can also save even more money doing a ticket and hotel package through them. We don't say that just because we're partnering with them. We honestly have used them in the past, and they can save you a pretty penny. Lastly, use Google Flights to research flights. This is a great tool to use. It tells you when to purchase tickets. It can tell you when to wait, or sometimes it's like you waited too long. It sucks either way.
Yeah.
So
at least they're honest.
yes, it's a nice search tool. I use it all the time to kind of search for flights, and it does a really good job. Finally, let's talk about some of the great times we've had at the parks in the summer. Even though there's some not so fun stuff to navigate, you can have a blast in the summertime. So let's talk about it. I'll tell you about my first time, not my first time experiencing this, but one and only time I experienced 4th of July at Disneyland.
That's insane.
It was insane.
I
don't know what possessed my parents to visit during 4th of July. We were still young and new at the Disneyland stuff. I was not old enough to tell them, like, I think it might be a little too busy, guys. But we showed up around, I don't know, maybe 9 a.m.-ish or something like that. I know they closed down the park gates at like noon. They let no one else in because it was at capacity.
Oh my gosh.
So if you weren't in the parks, you weren't getting in past that time. So it was insanely busy. Once the fireworks started, you couldn't move an inch. We got stuck in Tomorrowland. We couldn't move at all. But I will say this, the fireworks were amazing, and it was just a good time. It was fun being there for 4th of July. Again, it's very busy, and we didn't ride probably as many rides as we're used to, but it was a fun time and novel to go during a holiday.
All right, so the first thing that really comes to mind when I think of like going to the parks when it was super hot outside, which I believe was our August 2022 trip.
Yeah.
Which, again, it was mid-August when we went. We're like, let's just do it. It was like one of the first times that we've been during that time, but we were trying to take advantage of our key. So we're like, let's get these like so many trips in, right?
Yeah.
So we went, we were a little nervous, and let me tell you, it was pretty hot. It wasn't the hottest we've ever experienced at the Disneyland Resort, but it was pretty like at like 11:30 a.m. You're like already sweating and you're like, woo, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah.
However, I wanted to mention, instead of going in with the attitude of like, oh my gosh, it's hot, I'm sweating, we probably both stink, I need shade, there's no shade
Speak
anywhere.
for yourself. I never stink. It's
You
mostly
actually
you.
don't.
I'm just
That's
kidding.
rude.
Just kidding. Like flowers.
So one memory that comes to mind, which we kind of took advantage of the heat, was we went over to Tom Sawyer's Island. And I know a lot of you are probably like, why would you do that? It's hot.
There's a lot of trees.
Over there. There's a ton of trees over there. And it's something that we normally don't do. And I wanted to say I can't recommend going over there enough. Even if you don't have kids, there's tons of stuff to do over there. We went and kind of just walked around the whole island, kind of adventured and explored everywhere. And one of my favorite areas on the side, so if you're looking at the island, once you go over on the boat, on the left-hand side, there's kind of like this little walking trail, and it leads you past Splash Mountain, aka Tiana's, and it shows you like right where the log goes down, like the mountain, like the exit point before it loops to go back inside. You can see the log coming down.
Yeah.
And there's like a little seating area, and it was really peaceful and like calming. And long story short, we would have never gone over there if it wasn't super hot, and we wouldn't have like made the memories over there. So like it's just a little thing like that where it's something you don't expect.
There's also some nice caves over there for
oh my gosh.
for some smooching.
Okay, so I was wondering why you were just smiling at me, you weirdo.
I was just thinking of like, I don't know.
I love you were talking about my memories, and he's like smiling at me with this like mischievous look.
I'm just saying.
A lot of those caves are actually quite spooky.
Yeah, they are.
There's like, what was it? What was some of the things in there?
I don't know. There's one thing if you look in there, it talks at you and it's very loud and it kind of spooks
like
you out.
dark.
Yeah.
So
dark.
super fun. Just go over there and explore.
Go explore.
Mm-hmm.
So Disneyland in the summer, as you can tell, can be really fun. Just make sure to take care of yourself and spread out that fun throughout the day to really kind of just have a good time, because it can get toasty, it can get expensive, but Disneyland is Disneyland. It's always magical, and you just have to maybe run into a couple grumpy moments and it's just an excuse to go buy vitamin water or a Starbucks. That's what I do.
Or schmoozies.
Or schmoozies.
Pack those positive pants and keep them on the whole trip.
She's speaking directly to me because, man, me and heat do not mix well. As you can tell, I open up almost every episode in the summer with, it's hot this week. And it will be that way until like October. So just get used to that. But yes, Caitlin reminds me to be positive. We're on vacation. Mm-hmm. Who cares if I'm sweaty and miserable? We're having fun.
Hey, would you rather be sweaty at Disneyland or sweaty at work at home?
I'm usually not sweaty because I'm in AC at home. So.
Well, you're still hot in the
No,
summertime.
not really.
At the end of the day, if you have to go during summer, definitely do it. It's fun. Make the memories. Have a blast.
No, I'm kidding. If it was like, do you want to be working or at Disneyland? I'd pick Disneyland,
right?
even on the hottest day of the year.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's a fun time. Buy a schmoozie.
Those schmoozies are so good.
They're delicious. All right. Thank you so much for listening. You can find us over on Instagram and Threads at Market House Podcast. Make sure to follow us over there for pictures from the park and exciting news and announcements. Consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, both a huge help to the show. We have a Patreon, markethousepodcast.com/support. You can go check it out over there for exclusive content and a great way to support the show. Thank you to all those who choose to do so. Remember to use your Getaway Today link for your future trip bookings. Check out the episode details for that link and use code MarketHouse10 for an additional $10 off your booking. Join us next week for another episode. It's been fun. It's been hot.
And toasty.
And it's been smoochy.
Bye-bye.